Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video for you. Coming at you with more Fiendsmith, Azamina, White Forest. I've been doing a little bit of thinking about this deck and how I wanted to approach my build, and decided that I did still want to play Fiendsmith cards. I did actually end up in the Fusion Synchro event playing a little Azamina, White Forest, of course the Fiendsmith because there were no Link monsters. Which gave me like a little bit of a feel for how, you know, opening hands without Fiendsmith looks. And I don't think that Fiendsmith is required by any means, but I think it's probably just optimal to be playing some amount of Fiendsmith here. Now, in the comments of my latest video on White Forest, the last one, I saw people talking about, you know, running one Fiendsmith Engraver and running one Azamina Aphis, and I was like, wow, the comments are very unanimous about that. And then Joshua Schmidt started posting YouTube edited VODs to his YouTube channel, basically saying the same things. And I'm like, oh, so that's why people were saying that. And it's like, yeah, you know, that makes sense. That happens a lot, I notice. I do kind of prefer that if you're going to, like, you know, repeat, and some people did do this, to be fair, but I do kind of prefer if you're just going to, like, parrot something that a pro player is saying, you at least cite them. I notice a lot of people try to kind of pass it as their own opinion or just say that it's obvious or whatever. But anyway. I do think that Azamina Aphis does have a good amount of room in the deck. It is pretty good disruption. Being able to bounce multiple cards a lot of the time is nice. And it's really just nice when you have an extra search for, like, a White Forest card. Rather than trying to add like a follow-up player or something vague like that, being able to add another tangible, you know, threat to your end board is quite good. Plus, the more spell and trap cards you have that can set themselves when sent by a White Forest effect, the better, for sure. I don't remember exactly if I was on 3 Diabell and or Deception before. I think I was on 3 Diabell Star, 1 Deception. But I went down to 1 of each because, I mean, the Azamina stuff is nice, but it's also, like, pretty searchable off of the LZ Azamina, right? Being able to add a Sinful Spoils card. So unlike Snake Eye Azamina, where, 1, we want to play 3 Diabell Star anyway because it's good for OSS, and, you know, 2, again, it's not quite, the Deception isn't quite as searchable. I think we really only need for White Forest probably 1 copy of each to be fine. Oh, another noteworthy change, that this is actually something I undid. I took out Sinful Spoils of the White Forest and Guardian Chimera, and I put in Sinful Slumbers of Spoil Morian. I did this to get a little bit more room in the extra deck, because I gotta love with you, despite, you know, very regularly making Sinful Spoils of the White Forest part of my turn 1, you know, end board disruption, I never activated it. I just never summoned a Guardian Chimera. It didn't really ever come up for me. I didn't really find it that useful. Morian is searchable disruption off of Diabell Star. Yes, it is true that, you know, turning 1 monster face down is not quite as good as what Guardian Chimera can offer, popping 2 and drawing a card. But I think that's fine. Again, the Guardian Chimera just never came up for me, so I figured I would save the extra deck space, which this deck does really want. So, yeah. Oh, I also put in a second Stellar of the White Forest, because not only is this card a starter, but also, even if you do open with it, you can still weave doing Fiendsmith stuff in the middle of your combo line to, like, use Beatrice to dump a Stellar. Watched a duel live over on Patreon recently, if you're interested in the Patreon exclusive content. That's on patreon.com/hexlex. But we watched a duel live recently, or where somebody, like, opened Sylvie and a Stellar, and they went normal summon Sylvie, and because they were playing 2 Stellar, they were able to do that Fiendsmith line into Beatrice, dump the second Stellar, bring it back with Elf, and then, like, the board they set up was insane. Their end board was, like, Elf, Diabell, Baron, Ilias Sylvia, I feel like they had 1 other synchro as well, even, maybe. But I might be misremembering that part of it. But long story short, I was very compelled when I saw that to try, you know, weaving the Fiendsmith, dumping a Stellar, bringing it back with Elf into my combo line. Of course, if all you open is Engraver and no other, you know, plays, this is how you do full combo White Forest line off of just opening Engraver. But again, I think even beyond that, there is merit to playing the Fiendsmith line in the middle of your White Forest line. I don't think 2 is necessary. I don't even necessarily think it's optimal. It's just something I wanted to try. That's another thing too that I see a lot in the comments of like people being like, well, this build isn't optimal. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, I feel like I pretty clearly state in the video that like this is something I'm trying out, right? And that's actually something that happens all the time in the comment section as well, is like, I'll say something in a video, and then later in the comments, people will be like, why didn't you address this? And it'll be like the most upvoted comment. I'm like, it's literally in the first 5 minutes of the video. But anyway, I don't want to turn this too much into me complaining about the comment section. It probably already did anyway, so apologies if that was the case for you. But anyway, why don't we just go ahead and break the list down card by card, and then we'll start getting into this gameplay. So we're on 1 Feeble Lurie, 3 Effect Veiler, 2 Max C, 2 Esteller of the White Forest, 3 Elzette of the White Forest, 1 Elzette Azamina of the White Forest, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 3 Sylvie of the White Forest, 1 Rusia of the White Forest, 3 Molcharmi Fuelos, 2 Fiendsmith Engraver, 1 Diabellstar the Black Witch, 1 Triple Tactics Talent, 1 Tales of the White Forest, 1 Fiendsmith's Tract, 1 The Hallowed Azamina, 1 Deception of the Sinful Spoils, 2 Called by the Grave, 1 Crossout Designator, 1 Wanted, Seeker of Sinful Spoils, 3 Infinite Impermanence, 1 Sinful Spoils of Slumber Morian, 1 Woes of the White Forest, and finally 1 Azamina Aphis. And that's going to be it for our main deck. For the extra, we're on 1 Fiendsmith's Lacrima, 1 Azamina Ilia Sylvia, 1 Azamina Mu Rishilago, 1 Silvera Wolf Tamer of the White Forest, 1 Rasila Sinister Soul of the White Forest, 1 Diabelle Queen of the White Forest, 1 Baron de Fleur, 1 Chaos Angel, 1 Beatrice Lady of the Eternal, 1 Fiendsmith's Requiem, 1 Sprite Elf, 1 SP Little Knight, 1 Moon of the Closed Heaven, 1 Fiendsmith Sequence, and finally 1 Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess. There's our list. Let's look at these games. Alright, our first opponent's going to be on Millennium Stun. You probably all know are familiar with the list that I'm talking about. It's the Millennium / Exodia quote-unquote pure deck that just kind of substitutes the lack of its power with a bunch of floodgates, right? It's actually been quite popular on ladder. Well, that and also Millennium with Snake Eye, but anyway. So we're going to lead with a Stellar pitching Woes here. Opponent's got an Effect Veiler. My opponent's on 60 cards, and they're really jamming like 3 of every hand trap and floodgate that they can fit into the deck, which I think is ultimately going to be at their detriment here. We're going to set Woes and then use that same Woes in order to go for Elzette, but our opponent does unfortunately have the Ash Blossom here as well. It's really easy to think like, oh, 60 cards and they have multiple hand traps, but like, I'm not a big fan of that narrative because it's like, people will say that literally no matter what the 60 card deck opens, right? Like they'll be like, oh, 60 cards, and they open their combo and a hand trap, and it's like, well, yeah, that's just ratios. Like that doesn't have anything to do with, anyway. So here's why I kind of think being at 60 cards and jamming 3 of every hand trap and floodgate possible was not to my opponent's advantage. He didn't have any plays. They had a normal summon, Retaliating C, and pass. I was really anxious about Maxi and Imperm not being enough going into my opponent's turn, but it's pretty clear that was definitely fine. Also, my opponent setting across from my Imperm tells me that this is also likely an Imperm. Ash Blossom is not a great draw, but we can make use of the Imperm on board to go for Elzette. This will let us summon the Esteller from our graveyard, as well as, of course, adding Sylvie. Normal summon Sylvie, and they fire off a Veiler from hand, which means that this could still be Imperm. They just wanted to use the Veiler because it has use on my turn and not theirs, which is understandable. So I decided to link off Esteller and Elzette here in order to make Moon of the Closed Heaven. I wanted to pivot into Fiendsmith stuff because I don't have a spell or trap to send off Rasila if I go into that. So I figure I'll just go into Baron, and then I'll have like Baron, Maxi, Ash Blossom into their top deck. That sounds really good. We can even use Requiem here and then Engraver's Effect in order to send to the Retaliating C. I don't really care if they add Max C at this point. I thought they might try to save it for a later turn, but they actually shotgun it right now, which I thought was a little greedy. I Ash Blossom here because it's pretty clear they're really, really hoping for a top deck, and I want to summon Baron. But I don't know. I feel like there are a lot of scenarios where I would, even if I didn't have Ash Blossom, if that card in hand was like an Imperm anyway, I could still just go into Baron. I would give you 1 draw for an Omni Negate. That's fine, right? I don't know. I kind of think that maybe they should have saved this Maxi. I guess I understand where they're coming from, though. But given that they are in top deck mode again, I don't want to give them even one draw if possible, so I will use the Ash Blossom here. Going for the Baron de Fleur, I'm going to try to blow up the face down, but it's actually Effect Veiler. So I think I know what my opponent was going for here, because I still suspect this face down card is Imperm. So I think my opponent's using Veiler now on Baron to try to save Imperm for the next turn, to Imperm my Baron, and then top deck into a play, which makes sense. Even if that is the case, thankfully we do have Maxi as our last card. I'm also going to bring back Engraver here. That way I can swing in for 4,800 here and, you know, get a lethal over 2 turns. I actually thought about linking Engraver and Baron into SP to banish the face down Imperm and then also have SP Maxi going into their turn. But I figured, like, you know, that's such a risky play. That's also assuming the face down card is Imperm. It could just be this person's, like, has a setting where it sets the spell and traps, it picks the zone for you, which defaults to the middle. I think that's even the default setting in-game, especially on console. So it's not impossible that the face-down card is not Imperm, right? So either way, it didn't really matter. They didn't have follow-up plays off their top deck, and again, even if they did, we had Maxi to hopefully find something there too. But all right, there is our first duel. Let's take a look at this next one here. Alright, for the next game, our opponent is going to be on Tearlaments, and both this and the last duel are both going to be going second games. Alright, so let's see what we got. A couple of pretty good hand traps, I definitely won't deny. Opponent's going to start by special summoning Fenrir in order to add Tearlaments Kashtira. They go to special summon Tear Cash from hand off its effect. That kind of made me think it might be actually Kashtira, because sometimes Kashtira plays Tear Cash, and I figured that build would be more likely to do a play like this. But also, if it was Kashtira, they would have just added Rise Heart, so that's what they would have done. They end up banishing Meta Noise in order to special summon Tear Cash, milling Shiren, and then fusing with a Shadal Beast in hand. So I'm going to get a total of a net +1 off of Maxi and Fuelos here. This is basically the same as if I only had Maxi and they did 2 special summons, right? They're giving me 1 extra, I guess technically 2 extra draws here, in order to end on El Shadal Winda, which is going to floodgate me in a way as I can only special summon, you know, once while it's face up on the field. But it's also, like, not that hard of a card to out. We have the triple attack right here. There's, like, a million ways you can out stuff on your opponent's field. It's really not hard at all, a lot of the time. So here I'm going to use my 1 special summon for a Stellar. I just need to get my opponent to activate a monster effect. And sure enough, they are going to end up using the Kashtira Fenrir on my Sylvie. Perfect, that's all I needed. And whether it was a Floodgate or the Fenrir, I just needed to bait out something. Now we can use triple attack and then take the Tearlaments Kashtira. This is also a reason, one of many, why triple attack is just like one of my favorite cards in the game. I think that the utilization that this card can offer is just absolutely amazing, the variety. And yeah, as you can see, as we go to battle over the Winda, we're just able to take the W right there. Yeah, I mean, you know, Floodgate monsters like Winda and Kyriushin and whatever can be, like, kind of scary, but, like, I would much rather deal with a Floodgate monster than, like, any other kind of a Floodgate, be it, like, a back row or, God forbid, a monster put on my field through some BS. But, because, like, there's so many ways to out it. That you can battle over it, you can Imperm, you can steal it, you can, and then, you know, tribute over it. I guess, to be fair, that's true of stuff that's put onto your field is tributing over it. But you'd have to steal it plus tribute over it in this specific scenario. That's what I was thinking about when I saw triple attack plus Engraver. I was like, can I triple attack, steal Winda, and then tribute it? And that I don't think I would have been able to do. I think I did need to use my normal summon to bait a monster effect, but that did also hinge on me being able to bait a monster effect, right? I don't fault my opponent for activating Fenrir there necessarily, but without the ability to special summon again, what was I going to do with Sylvie and a Stellar, right? And I don't know, in that regard, maybe I shouldn't have added Tails. Maybe I should have added Woes just in case, but... Oh, no, we added... No, wait, we didn't add Azamina Aphis. We opened that, right. So, anyway. Enough of me yapping about that game. Let's go into this last one here. And our final duel for this video is going to be against Centurion. It's just a regular pure Centurion deck. I guess, I don't know, to be fair, there's not really much of a reason to combine it with Fiendsmith, right? I threw together a hypothetical Fiendsmith, well, not hypothetical, I did make the list of Fiendsmith Centurion, but I never really ended up playing it because I didn't really think there was much of a reason to. Okay, so here you'll notice I go for Ash Blossom before Effect Veiler on the Centurion Primera. There is actually a reason for that. It's because Primera is just about the only search effect I think they'll do at this point on turn 1. And also, if they end up having Called By or Crossout, I would rather go Ash than Veiler as opposed to Veiler and then Ash, right? Of course, the drawback is that if they have Maxi or, well, not Fuelos, but if they have Maxi on my turn, I can't Ash that, but I think it's kind of a moot point. Ash just plays better if they have Call By, Crossout, or an Extender, which they did have an Extender stand-up Centurion here. Yes, they can go for the Gargoyle and then Synchro Summon for a 12. This will be Auxilia. I'm definitely going to use Veiler on the Auxilia. This not only stops the search for Phalanx, but now also Auxilia can't place Primera in the spell trap, which means they won't be able to summon a 12 on my turn, which is, of course, like the whole point of Centurion. So yeah, they still get to add back Gargoyle 2. I don't care about that. They're going to actually activate Gargoyle 2, sending the field spell in order to summon it, and then linking off for the Hermetic Spheres, which is definitely better than having no disruption, that's for sure. So, alright. Our hand's looking pretty solid here. Fuelos doesn't seem to be that great of a draw, but I'm going to start with the Engraver. I'm going to start with Fiendsmith stuff here in order to try to bait out the Spheres, because if I just went normal summon Sylvie, add Tails, then they just bounce the Sylvie, and then that's really not great. So, once I summon the Luries, where they go ahead and activate their Spheres, bouncing the Lurie back to hand. And funnily enough, I do actually get to activate the Fuelos for a draw here. So now they go summon Magnum Hut. I get to draw LZ Azamina, normal summon Sylvie, and then they're just going to concede at that point. So, alright. There we go. There are our games for Fiendsmith Azamina White Forest. I'm probably going to pick this deck up again at some point this season, just because it does fascinate me, just the number of ways there are to play and build it. And of course, I do welcome suggestions. I didn't mean to sound earlier like I don't. Of course, not as many people are going to hear this because it's at the end of the video, but at least all of y'all know that, like, I don't know. I do welcome suggestions. I didn't mean to kind of infer that I don't at all, but yeah, those of you who are still listening now, I really do appreciate you all, and I want to thank you all for that kind of support, because you all are right up there along with YouTube members and patrons as some of the top supporters of the channel. Watching/listening all the way till the end is phenomenal. Thank you. But that is going to do it for now, so let's move on to our outro. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Just want to give you a huge thanks for watching all the way to the very end of the video. Believe it or not, that is actually one of the best ways that you can support the channel, is by watching the videos in their entirety. But there are many ways in which you can support the channel if you are so interested. The names that you're seeing on screen here, I gotta give an extra special thanks to, because these are people who have chosen to either become a member on YouTube, which if you're interested you can do as well via the join button next to the subscribe button down there, or have signed up over on Patreon and become members there. Link to that is going to be in the description below. Without the support that is being offered by, again, all the people that you're seeing on screen right here, I would not be able to take the time to dedicate to uploading daily YouTube videos. So thank you so very much. But there are also other ways you can support as well. Again, link to the description below. If you like my deck tracker that you'll see in a lot of my videos, the Untapped Companion, you can download that for free, and if you use my affiliate link down there, then that also goes a long way towards supporting the channel. That's, again, free. So is subscribing here on YouTube. That's also free and a huge way to support. You can also check out Twitch, once again linked in the description below. Following and subscribing over there will not only support as well, but also give you notifications of when I go live if you want to catch some of the live streams. But really, no matter how you choose to support, it all adds up, and it all definitely means the world. So thank you, each and every one of you. For now, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out. But more than that, I'm hoping that you have a fantastic day.